The Policy Council was at the 7th Lagos Economic Summit, Ehingbeti 2014, held at the Eko Convention Center, Victoria Island, from April 8 to 10, 2014. The theme was centered on powering the Lagos economy. Key speakers at the opening session included His Excellency Babatunde Raji Fashola, SAN, Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Mikhail Saakashvili, former President of Georgia, and Mrs. Damilola Ogunbiyi, General Manager of the Lagos State Electricity Board.
I bid you all a very warm welcome to this year's summit, the Ehingbeti 2014, our 7th summit. Our resolve is to create opportunities for enterprise and prosperity from these problems. We have seen almost 3 decades of broken promises across the world, and particularly on our continent and in our country. Our people may doubt what we say or plan, but they certainly will not doubt what we do. But 2 years ago, we came back here to share with you the messages that we were hearing from our people, that there's a lot of growth of the continent, there's a lot of growth in Nigeria's economy, but that they were not feeling that growth. And we sat down and we said to ourselves, how can we, from Nigeria's economic capital, make that growth trickle down? And it appeared to us, listening and consulting with people, that 4 sectors held the key to accelerating growth and putting people towards prosperity. They were power, agriculture, transportation, and housing. But I think what I'd like to share with you are the micro impacts of the building of 2 power plants alone. The power plants in Alausa and the one on the island, which were constructed in the aftermath of the last summit, enabled us to employ 259 people just during the construction of it. Island Maternity, where incidentally I was born, is one of those facilities that have benefited from the IPPs, and these are areas where we can make only very restrictive impact, embedded generation. But 14 schools have been connected. Lion Building Police Formation and Zone 2 Police Formation have also been connected. So we have not only impacted hospitals, we have impacted learning, we have impacted security. About 198 generators have been decommissioned, and you have seen that in that sense, it means that in all those areas, we are saving about 4 times what it costs to run facilities to generate power. Of course, justice delivery has also benefited, because the Lagos High Court, the Magistrates Court, in that embedded zone now have reliable and uninterrupted power. I'd like to share with you about power. Just those public lighting alone is how it has impacted ordinary people, vendors, merchants, tradesmen, artisans. Because when we talk about the size of the Lagos economy, that size is not really measured by the size of banks. It is measured by the exchange conducted by millions of ordinary people on a daily basis across Lagos. From what we have seen here, if a few power plants, 3 in all, can impact schools, can impact traders, can impact security, can reach the inner and private recesses of a hospital, that you can hear this kind of testimony. Just close your eyes and imagine what can happen if power truly becomes stable. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is my summary of path. A well thought out initiative by a thinking and working government, supported by a very robust citizen that has created jobs by the thousands in power, agriculture, transportation, and housing. An initiative that gives meaning to the idea of economic growth for the ordinary citizen, because he is part of it and he can tell the story. A story in the center of excellence, an African model megacity, where government thinks and works for the people, where people no longer live on a diet of empty promises by their government. This is the story of path. I welcome you to the 7th Economic Summit, which I will now declare open. Thank you.
In 1990, Georgia was a world recordsman in terms of dropping of GDP. Our GDP dropped in 4 years or 4 or 5 years by 75%. Government could not supply by the time we took over 80% of the population with electricity. Not a single kilometer of road had been built for more than 15 years. We had, most of the cities had no water and sewage systems running or functioning efficiently. Some of them didn't have at all any systems. We had a crime rate that was one of the highest in the world. And we had corruption rate, which was one of the highest in the world. So we come in and people are burning tires in the street, protesting against lack of light, shooting everywhere, people are shot, lots of criminality. And we had to do very fast reforms. And of course we couldn't pay salaries. So first thing we did is that we started with a committed group of young anti-corruption investigators and new tax collectors. We asked international organizations for money to pay the cash for their salaries. And I was thinking to myself, if we could increase the income of Georgia by 15% in 6 months, then maybe we could start paying other things. Well, we doubled tax collection within 6 months. And then we started a comprehensive change of our several things. For instance, in 2 months into my presidency, we decided that it was hopeless to reform our Georgian police service, and we fired all of them. We basically, and so for 3 months, my country had no police force left. And you would be surprised, but crime rate didn't go up. And because it turned out that police was very much part of the problem rather than the solution. We gave them new equipment, new cars, new guns, new uniforms, and most of all, what we gave them, what this new system gave them, was respect of the people. Old police force had a confidence rate of 4%, which meant that they were universally hated and despised. The new one has, no matter who is the minister, no matter who is in the government, up to 90%, the most loved police. And actually, that was one of the main purposes. The other important reform was the reform of education. To get into university in Georgia, you had to pay bribe. You had to pay bribe to go from one class to another. You had to do other things. So the point was that we had to change the system. We introduced universal exams. We also changed the customs service and tax service. In Georgia, we had 27 taxes when I took over. First thing we did was tax amnesty. We forgave people liabilities for 2 to 3 billion taxes. But then we lowered the number of taxes down to 6 taxes. We lowered the tax rate overall the tax burden by 65%. We, for instance, brought down the VAT down to 18%. We brought we had social tax and income tax, we merged them, and one was 30% and the other was 25%, and we brought them to 20%. And what we also did, we changed the whole system, how these taxes were collected. And actually, when we slashed the taxes to number 6, and to when we lowered the tax burden by 65%, for the years of my presidency, tax collection and the state budget went up 12 times. We had 12 times bigger budget. We came under full energy embargo from Russia. We were getting 100% of our gas and 80% of our electricity from Russia. One day it all disappeared. We lost, in one day, the whole 70% of our export market. And when we stayed without Russian energy, we suddenly realized we had to cope on our own. So we had to refurbish the whole sector. It was a hard change, but basically by creating the base, first of all, killing corruption, because it looks like most of the electricity was just going, people were earning money on people not having electricity, on all kind of schemes for which they were swapping electricity to Russia, to Turkey, and pocketing the money, and then generated by new facilities. Now the hydropower, for instance, the money to the hydropower, FDI to hydropower became the chief generator of economic growth in Georgia. Now we lost most of our export market, but the year after that we diversified and we had economic growth of 13%. And overall, in nominal terms, in 9 years of my presidency, we had first 4 years 2 double-digit growth. Then we had war and world economic crisis, so we had 3% contraction, but then we had 6, 7, 9, and 11% growth after that.
For the last 3 years, Lagos State government has believed that a long-term perspective into the development of the energy sector is critical for any type of development in Lagos. We were lucky enough to partner with the Department of International Development in the UK, DFID, along with Atkins, to come up with a future-proofing project, cities project for Lagos. And we're also very proud that Lagos State government is the first city in Africa to actually have a Lagos Energy Security. Moving on, this year in particular, Lagos State also decided to look inwards. Instead of just going and calculating how much power it used all around Lagos, we actually decided to now look within our facilities. We've just finished a comprehensive study of all the secondary schools in Lagos, which was 655 schools, and we found out even within our schools there were 987 generators, and the combined capacity that they need is 14.8 megawatts. Well, we've now taken it a step further. We're now mapping all the data, so you can actually choose a catchment area, calculate all the Lagos State facilities in that catchment area and how much power it needs. We also did an audit of the facilities for both discos, so I can tell you that main day school is being fed from this feeder and this transformer, so if anything goes wrong, you can actually evaluate the chain. So Lagos State government thought it was important to actually have an institute of best practice, which will be internationally recognized by the likes of Siemens and other UK universities, to train our young technicians and also retrain people in energy development from anything from transformer fixing to public lighting to traffic management. And this is an intervention the Lagos State government is starting because it's very important. We have about a 20,000 person gap, and if we do not fill that gap, we will not have development to the energy sector.
The second session featured a panel of power sector experts, including Mr. Eyo Ekpo of the National Electricity Regulatory Commission, Mr. Kola Adeshina of Sahara Power Resource Limited, Charles Momo of West Power and Gas, and Dr. David Ige of the NNPC.
Lagos State is said to have 20 million people. So the question you might want to ask is, so what is the ideal capacity, what is the ideal stock of energy that we should have to be able to catalyze Lagos State and its socio-economic engagement with among its own people and with the rest of the country? If you use the rule of thumb, you pretty much say that the average is about 1,000 megawatts to 1 million people. So if Lagos State has 20 million people, what are we looking for here? 20,000 megawatts of electricity, basically. Right? Perhaps the way to go forward is to look at actually decentralizing.
What we've done recently is that 1,320 megawatts of capacity is what is available from Ehingbeti power plant. Interestingly, for very many reasons, some of which I don't even know myself, the power purchase agreement we got from the bulk trader had 1,100 megawatts stated therein. So the first thing we did is to say that the 220 megawatt capacity that was not captured in the PPA will be dedicated to Lagos State alone. The encounter we had with the Lagos State government showed us that they urgently demand 10,000 megawatts to be able to industrialize Lagos and improve on the quality of life of the citizens. Immediately we got in, we wrote a letter to the regulator notifying them of our willingness to embark on the doubling of capacity of Ehingbeti, and that additional capacity is coming directly to Lagos, not to the grid. the first production of electricity happened in Eco Disco, and that was in 1896. The reason I'm saying this is that some of the infrastructure since 1896 is still what we're using. And that was just 20 megawatts, which the country had. Even before we got into it, we were told that daily allocation to us was about 450 megawatts. But since we got into ECO, maximum, sometimes the average of what we get is about 240. We've advertised, we're working with NEC, we've listed about 45 companies to do embedded. We are talking to 2 companies on captive power. So right now we're going through the process of pre-qualification. But our long-term projects are like having to bring in about 500 megawatts into our own local grid.
There's been a lot of talk and a lot of concern about natural gas. But what we're experiencing right now is an anomaly. And I'd like to explain that.